Hey, BassGeek here. I'm back on the water, BassGeek Nation. And today we're going to be talking about the Dropshot for fall bass. All right, boys and girls, so I appreciate you guys sticking in there with me. The very first thing I want to say is thank you. Me and the family have come through the COVID extremely well. My mom did have to be hospitalized for about 3 days, but that was mainly, I think, for dehydration. But we all made it through. And, you know, seeing some of your posts from that video, it just made me more grateful that we did make it through, because, you know, my heart goes out to a lot of you guys who, you know, lost loved ones and friends and family members to this, you know, awful disease. So I want to say thank you. I don't think for a minute we would have got through it and feel as good as I do without all the positive energy, the thoughts, the prayers from all of you guys. And I want to say that video really did motivate me. It touched me. And, you know, I just want to say, you know, I appreciate each and every one of you for just taking the time out of your busy life to come here, hang out with me, and just, you know, having me and my family in your thoughts. I hope every single one of you are safe. I hope every single one of you are healthy. I know a couple of you, Max had told me that you'd had it, and, you know, Max, I know you're one of, you know, you're a little older than me, young at heart, but, you know, I was really worried about you, and you know, hearing about the loss, so many of you, you know, people that have lost because of complications from this, you know, again, I want to say I'm sorry, and mine and my family's thoughts and prayers and positive energy will be coming your way, for you and your family, anybody that's going through this. Take care of yourself, even if you do get it. The biggest key is, you know, when I say don't lay around, I don't mean get up and, you know, build a garage or something. I mean, you know, get on some extra vitamins, get that Mucinex in you, you know, get some allergy medicine. So, you know, if you're having drainage going on, get to the doctor and get you some medicine for, you know, that if you're having nausea and diarrhea, get that Pedialyte. You know, Gatorade's great, but, you know, the Pedialyte is actually a little better to help keep you hydrated, so lighter on your stomach. You know, again, find and work to find what makes you feel better. And, you know, we all know with this disease that it's different for each and every one of us. But again, thank you. Now, let's get back to fishing. All right, guys, so while I've been out sick, I've got 2 mystery tackle boxes here. We're going to give them away 1 week from each other. So this should be coming out on one of our Sunday Fun Day videos. Now, all that being said, I don't know which one's for which month. I've looked on the box. I don't see any date, shipping date. So this is the one we're going to start with. And as always, I pick a bait out of the box. And I want to show you, and this is going to help you bank anglers too, because we're going to go with a green pumpkin. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. But as always, you guys know I am partners with Mystery Tackle Box, and one of the biggest reasons that I'm partners with Mystery Tackle Box is because I actually used Mystery Tackle Box years and years ago before I even started a YouTube channel. Me and some of my friends started getting it, and it was pretty cool to compare and see what baits we got every single month. It was just something fun for us to do. Not to mention, like I always say, even us guys who, you know, we've got our confidence baits, we got our baits that we enjoy fishing. The good thing about Mystery Tackle Box for us old heads is it can get us out of a rut. We can discover new baits. I know one of my very good friends, Tackle Junkie 81, Big shout out to Tackle Junkie. If you guys haven't seen his stuff, make sure you go over and check him out. And has found several go-to baits since he's been using Mystery Tackle Box. And likewise for me, I've found several baits that I now buy outside of Mystery Tackle Box and use on the regular. Now, all that being said, you can see we're in mid-fall right now. It's unusually warm. I'm in a t-shirt and shorts and, you know, water shoes. So, you know, it's unusually warm. I'll take it. Listen, if this is global warming, I vote yes. Okay, because the way I look at it is I'm just going to be closer to the ocean when the sea levels rise, and I love a week at the beach every year, and I get Florida winters. So, you know, I'm all for it, guys. I don't know about y'all, but I'm vote yes. I'm just kidding. Don't mean to piss anybody off out there. But, so, the point is, let's get back to this. Let's open this box up and see what came in whatever month this might be. So here's the bait that I'm going to choose to show you today. This is the X-Zone Finesse Slammer. It's a very good looking little finesse swim, or not a swim bait. You can tell what I'm dying to do, right? But drop shot style bait. So we'll talk about that a little more here in a second. We've got a Guggen Squad 3/8 ounce football. That is not a football jig. I don't know. Somebody put the wrong packaging in, but that, I mean, well, whatever. You know, we'll call it a football jig. They call it a football jig. Not what I think of a football jig. That looks like a big wide head skipping or arky jig. All right, we got an X-Sight, really good color right here. And it's silent. Love a silent bait in the fall because this lake right now, it is super clear. And that's kind of what you'll find in the fall. The lake, the water, a lot of time will clear way up right before, as long as you don't get any heavy rains. And we haven't really had any rains here, heavy rains in several weeks. But it'll really clear up right before the lake turns over and it dirties up. Here is a Mustad Scattershad blade jig. Good looking blade jig right there. Clear water though, not really the deal. Here is a D-Blade Advantage. This is by Dobbins. This is a 1/2 ounce. Good looking color here. A little darker water. Again, it's, you know, cleared up. It's a bluebird sky today. So, you know, and like ultra clear water. From Eagle Claw, here's Laser Sharp. These are a 4/0 EWG hook. You always get your retail prices there. That tells you how much the box is worth. And as usual, you know, guys, you really come in, I think, about 40% cheaper most of the time when you get these. All right, this is from the Mayhem Bait Company, and it actually comes with a little bit of liquid mayhem inside, which I find very cool. And these are the Sunfish Swimmers, the Mayhem Thrust Swim Minnow. Good looking little bait right there. Really like how it tapers off into the tail. I'm sure that tail has a lot, or a very wide action, which is great during the winter. Now, something that they've actually shown here, where to fish the gridiron jig. I really like these little cards. This is the gridiron jig, kind of what they're calling a football jig. I kind of disagree with that terminology, but hey, whatever. And, you know, I mean, hey, whatever. Yeah, a jackpot thing there. So you guys are going to get all this stuff. I'll tell you how to win at the end of the video. But for right now, we're going to rig up that drop shot. We're going to talk about colors, places to fish it, and how I like to fish a drop shot in the fall. So very first thing, let's talk about this X-Zone. Now, during the fall, I like to have a drop shot rigged up with me. Kind of my all-around drop shot rigged up with me, because a lot of times what I could be doing is I may be covering some shallow water, and out a little deeper under the boat I can see some, you know, some fish, some arches on my graphs, and that's when I'll pick up a drop shot and drop down to them, sometimes you can pick up, you know, 1 or 2 little bonus fish during the day when you see that. So always having that drop shot at the ready is a great thing. Now, sometimes when you have a day like today, now I'm back in a, you know, little holler where the sun never shines, but we've got a bluebird sky today. We're kind of post front. You know, those fish, and I know the fall is all about the shad, but now this color, which is a green pumpkin, let's see here, this is a green pumpkin blue flake, which is always a great color no matter where you're at. This color right here is going to probably represent more of a crawl or a you know, some sort of sunfish. If I was in a lake like I'm in today, I would prefer a, you know, some sort of shad color, ghost shad, something that's a little shad color, a little translucent, that sort of stuff. But a lot of you guys are going to be bank fishing, you're going to be pond fishing. And the great thing about a drop shot there, or on a day like today, is a lot of ponds don't have shad. So this is going to be your go-to forage. Now we'll talk about leader length here shortly, but one of the things that I'm going to tell you is that for you pond guys, or you guys that don't have shad in the lake, or maybe you guys up north where they're focusing on the gobies, this is a much better worm. Now what this reminds me of a lot is the Berkeley flatworm, I think is what they call it. Anyway, whatever, it's the big, you know, hot deal on the market. It looks a lot like that, in my opinion. Now I'm going to show you how I rig it up. I'm going to give you a couple of different variations if you're on the bank, okay? So let's start with rod, reel, line. Now guys, as always, you'll always know that I keep TRC covers on my rods. And one thing that I love, it's great for you shoreline anglers. If you're out there beating through the brush trying to get to that hard to get spot, this is the best tip in the market. I mean, I am back and forth. That thing is solid. It has a foam here so that your tip slides into it. And as I always say, it doesn't just pop off. So this thing isn't going to fall off. You don't have to worry about having, you know, the little tips. Now, if you're going down the lake, you know, 70 miles an hour, you might want to go ahead. If you're not going to put the strap over it, I would recommend putting the strap over it. But this cover, to me, does what I need it to do, and that is the overall goal of a rod cover is to protect your rods, your eyes, and protect your tip. And that's what this does. So that's why I like it so much. That's why I'm a big fan. Like I say, I carry a lot of rods in my rod lockers, and it helps me carry as many as I can put in the boat without breaking them. A few years back, before I went to these, I was using some others. They had the shrink wrap on them. Some of them had the sewn in tops, and I broke 5 rods that year. Since I've used these, getting in and out of my rod lockers, I've not broke a single tip in, I think, 2 to 3 years since I've changed to these. So, you know, like I say, everybody's got different ideals of what they want. Me, I want protection for my rods and reels. That's the key for me. So that's what I go with. Anyway, so like I always say, you actually have to put a little force behind them. Now this is my go-to drop shot setup. Now you guys that are fishing from the bank, one of the things that you always want to think about is how steep the bank is that you're coming up on. Now, if you look at these banks behind me, they're pretty steep. So let's imagine that that's how your line is going to look when you're dragging this bait up. So this is going to be up off the bottom, but it's not going to be that, I don't know, I probably got that somewhere in the neighborhood of 20, that's probably about a 2-foot leader. I'd say 24 inches, right? So, you know, vertically that's going to be way off, but if you're coming up the bank, that's not going to be as high off the, you know, it's probably going to be about a foot off these banks back here. So pay attention to how steep the banks are where you're fishing, you know, and think about that when you're creating your leader. Because if you drop this down to 6-8 inches, you know, and you're coming up a bank like these, that bait is basically going to be a Texas rig. You're not going to get a lot of action from the bait because it's going to be, you know, the tail's probably going to be laying on the bottom while the head is up off the bottom. So think about that, bank anglers. Think about that shore line, you know, rise and where your bait is. Sometimes for you guys on the bank, if you're fishing steeper banks or steeper banks, it may be better for you to have a longer, especially based on the length of the lure too, where this is a short lure, you know, a short little bait, you know, it may just be, you know, just be off the bottom. But if you're fishing a bank like this and your weight is down here, you've got a longer, say like a robo worm, you know, 6-inch, the tail's going to be on the bottom most of the time. It's just going to be the head sticking up. So think about that, shoreline anglers, when you're using a drop shot. Okay, so this is actually my go-to leader in the fall. This is about 12 inches, okay? Now, for me, my go-to weight in the fall will either be a 1/4 or a 3/8. Now, I use tungsten. This is Angler Tungsten. Guys, if you have not checked out Angler Tungsten, be sure you go check out Angler Tungsten. They are a partner of mine. They have, hands down, the best tungsten in the business. And they have everything. I mean, from hooks to shaky heads to drop shot weights. I love a tungsten drop shot weight hit because that's a 3/8. You know, that's about the same size of an 1/8 ounce, maybe between an 1/8 and a 1/4. All right. It's small, it's subtle, on super clear, on clear bodies of water. When you're drop shotting, that's what you want. And it's going to translate feel of the bottom back to you. Now, that being said, guys, they make the smoothest tungsten you're ever going to buy. So any of their bullet weights, all that, make sure you go check them out. There's always links in the description. And I believe there's a discount code down there. If there's not, tell me and I'll get you one because I know I've got one. Now, all that being said, on the lakes I fish, they're steep and they're deep. So the 3/8 generally is what I'm going to pick up as my go-to, because if I do go over some fish and I want to drop straight down, I'm going to get it down to them quick, okay? And that they could be deep. I mean, 90% of the time they're going to be anywhere from that 15 to 25 foot depth area, okay? Like I said, I like about a foot leader, and these are the VMC spin shot hooks. It just reduces line twist on these so much. And this is a little bigger hook most of the time. If I'm just kind of fishing around a lot of stuff, if I know where I'm fishing, if I'm targeting a school, I'll go with a small hook and I'll rig it nose hook. I'll go with like a #1, just kind of circle hook, okay? This, you'll notice, is kind of an EWG, and the reason why I do that is because, you know, most of the time I really don't know what I'm going to come up on, so I may drop it directly under the boat, but I may drop it in some brush and some laydowns. So generally what I'm going to do, and with this worm, I want to rig it what a lot of you guys may consider upside down. I want the flat side up. So I'm going to run it right through the head. Just barely through that head. I'm going to come up, push it right to the tip. Then I'm going to kind of measure where I'm going to come through. Come straight through with an EWG, We're going to lay it right on the back. We can even pull it up and skin hook it. And that's what it's going to look like, okay? Weedless. Now, if I was fishing more open water, less brush, I would actually rig it like this because you're going to get more action out of it. I would actually take the hook and come through and come almost out the head, just enough to where I could feel it, and that's how I would rig it. Right there. Not on this hook. This hook is too big for that sort of presentation. But like I said, this is my all around. I've got one drop shot on the deck of my boat, and it's going to play for anything that I want to do. Line, I'm going to go, and it really is going to depend on how clear it is. Again, the sky, it's going to be anywhere generally 8 to 10. I like 8, which is what I've got on. Fluorocarbon, of course. 8-pound test fluoro is generally what I'm going to go with. And I think, again, I'll put this down there. This is a 1/0, I believe, VMC spin shot hook. Like I said, in the description, it'll be there. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. But I do also like my yellow braid backing, okay? So this, well, not backing, but my leader. So I will put about 15 to 20 feet of leader, especially as clear as it is, because I don't want them seeing that. And I'll run 10, I like 10 to 15 pound braid on here. I'm going to get a lot of casting distance out of that. Reel. This is one of my favorite spinning reels by Lew's. This is the Mock Crush. It runs at about a 6, I think it's 6'1" or 6'3" to 1. I like a fast reel when I'm bottom hopping, and you know, the spinning reels generally, most of the spinning reels you pick up, they're in that 5-speed. That's one thing I love about Lew's on their spinning reels. Now this rod, this is a custom speed stick. I don't know that they make this version anymore, but I will put the equivalent of the new stuff that they have out. And I know they've got one because the thing I like about this rod is that it is a medium with a extra fast tip on it, okay? So when I go to set the hook on these fish, I don't have to worry about them running. A lot of times in the wintertime, I'm fishing for smallmouth. If they come charging toward the top, this rod is going to stay and keep me hooked up with these little tiny hooks. But I mean, that's about it. This is kind of my go-to. This is where I start on my drop shot. Like I said, if I was out on this lake right now, I would probably be using a shad color. But this, the green pumpkin blue, is a great color for you guys that are fishing ponds or lakes that have the gobies in them, or, you know, just, you know, the bass don't focus on the shad. So now or there's no shad in them. So let's go see how I actually fish this. Now this is one of the obvious places I like to target during the fall. This is a obvious channel swing we got coming up here, and right at the end of the channel swing we've got a laydown. Now during the fall, one of the things that you really want to check, because it's going to hold heat, is those laydowns when they're sticking out of the water. Those laydowns are going to stay a little warmer, and especially that big one like that, we're going to hope that there's some area for those fish to snug up right underneath it. But those types of areas are what I like to target with a drop shot this time of year. And so I'm just going to throw it out there and let it sink to the bottom. And then I'm going to lift, drag. I'm going to let the slack line. I'm just going to lift, and I'm going to shake that kind of semi-taut line right there. And I can feel myself coming across some branches. I'm just going to shake it and let it sit. I'm really going to work that lay down. And, you know, I'm going to make 2 or 3 casts to it. Out just a little bit deeper. I can really feel myself right there pull right up against that log. And a lot of times I'm going to drop that bait to the bottom and let it sit there. And then I'm just going to lift up. Shake it and let it fall again. Now, a lot of times there's so many different retrieves. One of the best retrieves when they're really, really tough is just to drag that bait a little bit on bottom. Tiny, tiny rod tip movements. You don't want to overwork this bait. And a lot of times, just let it sit still. Now, this is also one of the places that I love. You can see we got a little bit of brush. We're out here on a main lake point. And, you know, we're going to cast right up close to the shoreline. Again, we're going to let that bait drop. I'm going to reel the slack up, and I'm going to pull just with the rod tip, trying not to move the bait. And I'm just going to drag it. That's the big thing right now, especially when it gets tough. Just drag that bait down. Some really good rock right here. And that's it. That's really all there is to a drop shot. I mean, you're just basically going to let that bait, you're just basically going to drag that bait down the face of the rock, down the face of, you know, whatever tree you're in. And that's why I like the Texas, having it Texas rigged to start with. Now, if I really discover that they're on a bite, especially in a place like this where there's not a lot of cover, that's when I'm going to change over to that smaller circle hook, and I'm going to nose hook it. Now, one of the things you can do as the water gets colder, do shorten your leader. Less is more as the water gets colder. So you want to really make sure that, you know, your bait isn't moving a lot. It doesn't have a lot of erratic action. Really, you're dead sticking it most of the time. All right, guys, so like I said, this really in the fall is a great follow-up bait for me. A lot of times when there's misses on top water or when the bite just gets tough, we get in the situation we're in right now. The morning topwater bite dies. That's when I'm going to go to this style bait and really target the areas where those bass have, you know, areas they can ambush. So that cover where they can ambush the prey up shallow most of the time. As always, make sure you go check out Angler Tungsten. Make sure you go check out Mystery Tackle Box. There is a code in the description that is going to allow you to get your first box on the cheap. So make sure you go check that out. Follow that link. Guys, make sure you're sharing this channel out. I know we've kind of lost momentum here in the second half of the year, but I really want to pick that back up. I know a lot of you are going to start, you know, heading out to the woods, doing a little bit of hunting, but keep up with the channel. And there's a lot of really good information that's going to be coming out for the spring and for the cold weather when you guys up north begin to thaw out again. So let's just help me get to that 40,000. That's going to be awesome. We're already at 39, and I just 40,000 subscribers would be more than a dream come true. But anyway, I know what you want. You want to know how to win the mystery tackle box. Well, we're going to make it this simple. Just make sure you put in the comment section below, you say whatever you want. As always, I'll answer any questions, but in the comment section below, make sure you hashtag Dropshot. Sorry guys if I'm a little rusty. Again, you know, just getting over the crap and haven't been making a lot of videos because of the house and the, you know, the crap that we've had. So forgive me. Just trying to get some content put together so we can get it out there for you guys. If you've got any questions, I will answer them in depth for you in the comment section below. But don't forget to put Dropshot, hashtag Dropshot, all one word, in the comment section so that you've got a chance to win. We'll give this box away 1 week from the day this video comes out. All right, as always, guys, questions and comments in the comment section below. Make sure you hashtag Dropshot so you can win this box. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell so you get the notifications that when they come out so you can watch each and every video. And as always, you guys rock.